I'd like to call this business meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tacoma Public Schools acknowledges that we are on the traditional, ancestral, and historic lands of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Puyallup Tribe. This acknowledgement serves as a first step in honoring our nearest tribal neighbors and partners who have inhabited this region since time immemorial, and to whom we give thanks for allowing us passage to their lands. We shall intentionally create inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and socio-political realities. I was about to say General Counsel Benro, sorry. Would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. President Keating?
Here.
Vice President Strozier?
Here.
Director Bonbright?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
Sorry. I move the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions about the agenda? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Now, item number 6, recognition of staff, students, and community. 6.1, recognition of the Shining Star Community Partner Award to Tacoma Housing Authority for the month of March 2024.
Right.
Welcome, Miss Amanda Scott Thomas.
Hello there. Good evening, Board of Directors, staff, our beloved community. My name is Amanda Scott Thomas. I'm the Director of the Community Partnership Office, and it's my pleasure to come once again before you to award a deserving partner for recognition through the Shining Star Community Partner Award. So Tacoma Public Schools defines partnership as a cooperative relationship between students, families, schools, the school district, and the greater Tacoma community. Partners are committed to supporting student academic success and success of the whole child. Partners work with and invest in the education of our children and youth, whose future in turn will affect the entire quality of life for the entire Tacoma community. When it comes to student success, Tacoma Public Schools recognizes that schools cannot do this alone. And in recognition of an investment of time, talent, resources for TPS students and families and staff, the Shining Star Community Partner Award signifies honor and thanks to a community partner who has made a difference by doing what is best for kids. So tonight, this nomination was actually submitted by one of our directors, Taj Jensen. He's the director of Title I in our McKinney-Vento office. And he wanted to submit this on behalf of his department and Tacoma Public Schools as a whole. And these are his words. Tacoma Housing Authority's commitment to our shared goals has been instrumental in making a positive impact in the community we serve. Your dedication to providing affordable housing solutions and advocating for equitable access to housing resources aligns perfectly with our mission, and we are truly grateful for the collaborative efforts we have been able to undertake together. Through our partnership, we have been able to address critical issues facing our community, working hand in hand to improve the lives of those in need. Whether it's providing a safe and stable housing or offering support services to empower individuals and families, your ongoing support has been invaluable every step of the way. As we continue on our journey together, I am inspired by the progress we have made and optimistic about the future achievements we will accomplish together. Your commitment to fostering positive change in our community serves as a beacon of hope for many, and we are honored to stand alongside you in this important work. Please accept our deepest thanks for your continued support and partnership. Together, we are making a difference that will resonate for generations to come. And with that, the Community Partnership recommends that the board does award the Shining Star Award for March to Tacoma Housing Authority. Can we give them a hand as they come and accept their award? They brought along a crew tonight, and I've been fortunate to work with several of them. And these are committed, dedicated partners, and we are really excited to have you here and to honor you. Go ahead.
Thank you. We're honored to accept this award acknowledging THA's commitment, collaboration, and partnership with Tacoma Public Schools. We are excited to see the positive impacts in the community and look forward to exploring more ways to work together to make a difference in the lives of TPS students and families. Thank you.
We're now going to get a photo. Paparazzi.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
All right, moving on to item number 7, Superintendent's Report, 7.1, Whole Educator Recognition.
Good evening, Madam President. Dr. Greek is going to help us recognize some of our great staff members, our custodial team.
All right, just waiting on the PowerPoint, I think, up here.
Here it comes.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Garcia and members of the board. So this month of March, we're recognizing for Whole Educator our custodians, and this is really a perfect month. There's a little bit of irony here. So if you work in a school, you kind of consider March as kind of March Madness, right? A lot of people are busy before the break. Kids get pretty busy. Everybody's kind of ready to go on to break, and our custodians do this phenomenal job of making sure that obviously everything is clean, prepped, ready to go for when kids come back from break. And prior to that, they just got done helping and supporting all the kind of parties that go on with the holidays that come up there. So they've been very, very busy the last 2 months, of course, throughout the whole year. But we really can't keep this place tip-top shape without our custodians. And so I'm going to hand it over to Alex, who supervises and supports this amazing crew, and he's going to give a little bit of shout-outs and highlight some folks.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, board, and I see a lot of Bernie people, communities. Nice to see you. It's like I never left the relief pool. Our custodians are a large group that do make things happen, and sometimes it is hard to track all 200 of them, yet here we are. I want to acknowledge that they are doing the best they can and as much as they can with what we got. We're in a tough time, but I would like to acknowledge 2 people that are here today. It is Curtis Honow and Irina. They are back there. Please stand. There's Curtis from OC, Irina from Stadium. Thank you so much. They go above and beyond for our students every day. Irina just asked me, she goes, how long is this going to take? I got to get back. So there are days where I've had Curtis recently covered 2 buildings at once, and Irina's covered close to 60,000 square feet. They're doing a tremendous job, and thank you. We'll continue to do that. So I wanted to thank you for giving us the opportunity to say these things. Have a good one.
You know what? There's also a couple other custodians in the house. Tom Hannigan, will you please wave your hand? As someone who formerly taught at Blix Elementary School, Tom Hannigan was a custodian there and has served our district very, very well. Shout out to him.
Maybe
we got more?
Kind of a shout out to Matt Monet as
Matt
well.
Monet.
I think we got to.
Okay. Not only did Matt Monet work at Bernie previously as well, but I've got to give a shout out as, you know, a former Foss Falcon right here. Matt and I went to Foss at the same time. Woo!
So I'd like to get a picture. I know you want to go, but Alex, don't be Alex, come on. So if you're a custodian in the house, or representing that team in any way, please come up. We're going to get a quick picture with the board.
Yeah, come on, Tom.
All right, one more round of applause there. Woo!
That's right.
All right, item number 7.2, Early Learning Transitional K, TK update.
So, Madam President, Assistant Superintendent Zeke Edmond is here tonight to talk to you about some of the program adjustments that we're looking to make in the 24-25 school year.
Excellent. So our transition to kindergarten, we have been on this journey for a little bit. We started 2 years ago with our first pilot and had 5 schools that year. We then added 6 for this school year. It is part of our early learning goal number 3. How do we not only focus on but assess that learning, engage kids, communities at our pre-K through 3rd grade window. This is a snapshot you saw at Michelle's presentation. Raul Lewis, our director for early learning, previously walking through Head Start, ECAP. There's our transition to K as it currently sits in our peer model. I'll be focusing on that transition to K piece. As we look at it a little deeper, right? Currently, we sit with about 253 slots for our 4-year-olds. There's 11 different locations. TK Classroom has a CERT and a ESP that support it. And through, again, sticking with basic ed funding, we started to look at what would it look like feasibly to expand that across our elementary schools. We even did walkthroughs in space because we know that's some of the challenge for some of our schools, and where do we make it fit? Principals have been fantastic. I got a spot over here. We'd love to have them over there. And so it's great to see our community finding room for our 4-year-olds. And so in that design, looking at how it's funded, could we actually create more opportunities and get up towards about 700 slots for 4-year-olds. That would put us at 34 of our elementaries. And we have, I think we're down to about our last one. We're still looking for some elbow space in, but I think long term it's something we'll be able to create in all elementaries. That context again for our community, that our TK pre-school classrooms start at 4-year-olds at age by August 31st. Families apply to the program, so this is similar to our others that you saw up there, ECAP, Head Start, Peer. We do all of our applications through central office, and then we look for program placement. And so you'll start seeing those. We had a meeting today for our first community blast for enrollment. Those dates coming up here in April, which is upon us. So it's exciting to see social media, signage, things like that at schools, emails out, families, part of newsletters, things of that nature to start that recruiting process. We will be looking at students with IEPs as part of that TK. We want to create inclusive classrooms for all of our grade levels, and this is no different at this level as well. And then the income verification is not required for TK, but it is part of how we make our decision process. So for families that make below the 500% of federal poverty level are given first priority, and then we work our way up from there. And so obviously, as we look at that school by school for space, one of the things we ultimately wanted to create is currently in preschool, some kids get to have a 3-4-year-old experience on campus A, and then because they didn't have preschool at their home or catchment, they then end up going back to their catchment for their kindergarten experience up. And so can we get preschool in every building was kind of one of our initial windows. And so now a kid could come in as early as 3 or maybe 4 and then have that opportunity to go all the way through in their catchment if they so choose. So that's been kind of our goal. We're super excited to finally be in a place to get there. And then what does it look like? And so as a reminder, transition to kindergarten classrooms look very much like a classroom at any grade level in elementary. The students get to participate in not only their regular classroom lessons, and they have curriculum for reading and language and sensory development, but they get to go to lunch and recess and ride the bus and go to PE, music, and library and be part of that school process. Community, families are obviously involved in every, I think, of family nights and things like that. So it's part of creating that community at a very young age. We still use our WA Kids assessment at this 4-year-old range. We still do conferences and schedules. They're part of that for feedback. We assess 3 times a year. And so again, this is just a way for us to look at, can we do preschool across all elementaries in Tacoma and create that equitable opportunity?
Thank you. Do either of you have any questions?
I'm just really excited about it and thinking that this will help with community local, not having to drive across town for pre-K experiences. And I appreciate all the hard work that all the elementary school principals and staff are doing to make room for these kids. It's important. Thank you.
Exciting.
I do have one question, just because I'm not remembering the exact number. How many elementary schools do we have?
36.
Okay, so
I think
34 is real close to 36.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
For context, I was just curious how close we were.
Yeah, so we have a couple of our elementaries where enrollment is full. We every room we could physically walk through had kids in it, so it's something we have to think of long term. We had a couple that we weren't sure we'd pull off, but that's again that space where principals like, I think we can make it happen. And they've got their Beyond the Bell programs and other things, and so it is fun to watch them make it work, right?
And I think it's also exciting for opportunities for neighborhood schools, for our families to be able to do that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thanks, Zeke.
Yep.
And here you are again. So
He's not moving.
moving
You can see
between
he's not
my pages. Item 7.3, Learning Management System Update.
So I was here last board meeting and kind of giving a snapshot of just where we've been in this process. This was one of the slides we used to talk about. We started this work in September. We knew Schoology was going away summer of 2024. What would be our learning management replacement? This kind of same flow working through August, November, up through March is where we're at. And so in this update, kind of building upon that, what comes next. So obviously tonight's about our recommendation to the board, so I will be back up here a little later with an actual contract piece to go through. And then in April, obviously, we work with the vendor to get all that kind of checked off and start our planning meetings. EduPoint, when I look at our other tools that we've implemented, has a great process with planning meetings, getting us engaged in the specificity of implementation. And then kind of through the course of spring, I would hope that next time I come up here, I'd have a more specific, but ultimately these are the big lifts. How do we integrate our learning management system into our current Synergy landscape, test it, make sure it's functional and works, think about our third-party apps, Nearpod and Microsoft tools and OneDrive, how do those integrate? And then work with the vendor to create some kind of sandbox or train. So in our conversations with them, could we get staff into a place that before they leave for summer, they'd have a chance to go in and just play, test it out, think of it like a test drive in a car, right? So they can actually make sense and have some context. And then obviously we'd have a go live date. We'll know more of that once we're through this contract phase. Based on that go live, when we'd be able to start training. We've had a lot of great input from folks, so we kind of put out our web piece about a month ago to start sharing our current status, collecting information back from folks, and it's been great. I'll walk through some of those outcomes as well. Looking at PD in multiple, that's one of the things we heard is some people do just need that asynchronous, sit in my own space, make my own sense. Some like the face-to-face live. How do we build it into some of our PD days? And then what would our ongoing support look like as we go through some of that? So as we pull apart some of that feedback from folks, what are folks excited about as you read the information and consider next steps? You could see folks, they're excited about just having one platform, one login place, kind of that singular functionality. Creates just a different opportunity as far as not having to juggle as many pieces. Streamlining that process obviously was a huge piece, but integration is always a challenge, right? Like what we hear and see and how does it work is going to be a piece that we just have to work through spring, and even of course obviously as we go into fall. People are excited about ease of use, so there's a little video that was on the website so people can kind of get a little bit of context for what it would operate like. And then we start getting into the nitty-gritty. So like, what does it really take when you think about concerns when we implement something of this nature? So the transfer of content. I have a lot of lessons, content, resources built out at my Schoology. How do I get them over to Synergy land? We have some tools. Both vendors, both Schoology and Synergy, have helped us with some other tools to create that data transfer. So we'll start testing those here shortly. Training and support. Is it adequate? Is it timely? Is it enough time? Everybody's on a different spectrum when it comes to technology, so how do we integrate that? What are the learning curves? How do we work through those? And then obviously usability and functionality. And I think as we kind of read through that feedback, as we've engaged with folks, some of the different training opportunities, I think there's a space here for a reminder that when we think about our learning management system, this is one more tool for teachers as they find it fit for how they do their instruction. And so I think we have to be clear with all of our folks that, right, I go back to, I was a PE teacher. Is that a space I would have used an LMS on a daily basis? Certainly for my grading, I go into my grade book, I have attendance, I do in Synergy, but maybe I just have resources or independent learning opportunities for kids in the LMS, and I do my bulk of instruction in a face-to-face space. I still can communicate with families, so part of the LMS is how much of it do you find useful for you in your daily instruction?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a lot of conversations about
Sure.
this. Does anybody have any questions or comments? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for the update, and we'll see you back when you have the nitty-gritty.
Right.
All right, item point 8, staff report to the board. 8.1, legislative and budget updates. Hello, Ms. Medina.
Good evening. Thank you. Pardon me, I am having some aggravation in my throat today, so I'm going to try and scratch through it. We have been bringing a number of budget and financial presentations to you. We've been trying to bring something every month to let you know where we're at in the process and how we're moving through. And today we're focusing on legislative and our budget update. And so, just to remind everybody that we do have board directives about how we're supposed to make decisions. This is guidance that has been provided, adopted by the board, and provided to the superintendent and the staff in how we're supposed to make decisions about whether adjustments should be made or not. And that has been the standard that we have used in order to make all of the conversations that we're going to have tonight happen. Starting with our legislative update, we did have some very exciting adjustments that happened at the legislature. You had put together a legislative agenda. We worked really hard over the course of the legislative cycle, and I think that the legislature did hear a number of things that we have brought forward. Not everything that we wanted was something that we were able to get, but the good news is that we'll actually net about $3 million of new monies this year, which has not been the typical of what we've seen over the last several years. Some of the major highlights that you'll see are our special education formula increase. So last year it went from 14 to 15% of our students would be covered by the state. We're actually around 15.4% right now, depending on which numbers you look at. It's variable. And this will bring us up to being able to be funded for 16%. And so we won't won't be funded at 16% because we don't have 16% of our population in special education, but for that percentage that's over the 15, we will now see some additional revenues come through. So that's great news for us. There's been some other prototypical allocation enhancements. So the state funds the district on a prototypical allocation. For every 600 students in a particular type of school, you get X number of principals and X number of office support staff and X number of counselors, as an example. And so they have increased both the teaching assistants and office support categories. That's for 23-24 and 24-25. So that's exciting. And we'll see about just under $1 million of increase for those resources. Unfortunately for the district, we do fund more than what the state already provides in those allocations, and so this is resources that we're anticipating will help us fund the staff that we have currently. In some districts, there may actually be an opportunity where they would be able to add staff associated with that. Additionally, for materials, supplies, and operating costs, or MSOC, we'll see an increase from $1,483 per student to $1,533 per student. Again, that's great news. We're seeing a lot of inflation around insurance and food nutrition costs. Gasoline costs more, and so that will help to relieve some of the pressure on our levy. And then finally, wage and benefit changes. So our implicit price deflator, that is a cost of living adjustment that's defined by the state and the legislature. It's actually a national indicator, but the legislature defines that that's what they will use to provide cost of living adjustments. That will apply to all staff, or something of that kind will apply to all staff. There's a couple groups that have a little bit of a parity in something else, but the implicit price deflator has a cost associated with it for the district. While the state is giving us these resources to fund the staff that they provide allocations for, we fund beyond what the state provides for. So that means that our local levy has to pick up any costs outside of what the state is defining as appropriate staff. And the same applies under SEB. So SEB is our School Employee Benefit Board health insurance costs. The cost of insurance for each employee will increase. That's the district's cost for each employee. $1,100 up to $1,178 will receive a revenue for the staff that are funded by the state, but the rest of the staff that we have to, will have to have this increase, and we will have to cover the cost of that. So when we say that we have a net gain of $3 million, that's great news because we have some costs that come along with it. In total, it was about $13 million of new revenue, but $10 million of new costs. When we look at our 24-25 budget for next year, we have some revenue impacts. Some of these are incorporated here. We have lots of different components within the budget. There are grants, there are minimum wage changes, there are, there's all kinds of activities that are occurring. It's an infinite number of adjustments that are occurring. I've tried to highlight here things that seem to be the most critical, or things that I think would be the most interesting. But if there were ever questions about some of those details beyond that, we're happy to sit down and go through in more detail. Enrollment fluctuations, because most of our revenue does drive through enrollment, we actually will see a minimal impact to that this year. We're projecting our enrollment to be relatively steady. It's down, a couple of dozen kids. And of course, the projections are based off of demographers' projections. And so if those don't come in, then that could have an impact on where things look in the fall. Our ESSER funds will be ending. So ESSER was federal stimulus dollars that were provided to the state back in pandemic times of 2020. And we have now exhausted those resources. We had built a plan around what those resources are. We have stuck to that plan as best we can. We've made modifications and adjustments as we've gone through, but largely the things that we intended to spend those resources on, we have. And that $17 million loss of revenue will also be that we'll lose expenditures associated with it. So because we had not planned to have ongoing expenditures as our standard in those ESSER funds, most of the dollars that we've spent ESSER on will just go away, and we won't have to worry about bringing those staff into the fold, so to speak. Other legislative enhancements I mentioned, that was a $3 million gain. Mr. Edmonds just spoke about the transition to kindergarten program. That would bring in new revenue and allow us to make some modifications to our current preschool program. We believe that'll get us around a $2.4 million gain. So some celebrations in the revenue area outside of the loss of ESSER, which we have been planning for since the beginning of receiving those dollars. Of course, we always have standard cost increases, people moving up on the salary schedule, we call that incrementing, remembering that exempt staff are frozen this year, so as people progress on the salary schedule, we have increased costs associated with that, and our exempt team will not receive those this year. We have cost and inflationary increases, as I mentioned, for utilities, gas, insurance, building upkeep and repair, things of those natures. And then negotiated salary changes. We want to pay highly competitive wages and market-based wages to our staffs to maintain great staff, quality staff. And so those are implications that we have to address in our budget. We have accomplished a number of adjustments to our budget coming up. And I say accomplishments with a heavy heart because the first thing on that list is the elimination and shifting of staff. About $10 million that we've identified to date. Some of those are our 23-24 implementation of position eliminations that we've been working on all this year as part of mitigating strategies for the current financial situation. And we've tried our hardest to make all of those reductions as far from the classroom as possible, as you're directing us to do. That doesn't mean that we'll never have an implication in a classroom, but the expectation is that we will work first to try to find expectations elsewhere. We've also identified a number of discretionary reductions, so that'll look like contracts, supplies, and materials, and that'll be $20 million going into the next year. That also means that we may need to eliminate or reduce some contracts that are currently in play. And so we have been working with our cabinet team to identify what those contracts might look like for the future year, and we will have to prioritize and make decisions as a team. And some of those implementations and execution, the execution of that has not yet fully occurred. As I mentioned, ESSER will go away. Now you'll notice that the $14 million is not the same as what was on the last page of $17 million. We had $17 million of revenue, $14 million of expenditures that will go away. The $3 million difference is what we received in indirects, what the district could take as administrative burden. The exempt salary schedule being frozen is another item. And then, of course, we've been surplusing our properties where we can, trying to reduce our footprint and eliminate any expenditures that are unnecessary. And where we have the opportunity to, we're shifting classrooms back into schools that are already open and relieving ourselves of the burden of property that we have. Some future budget considerations as we continue to work through the budget process. We will bring you a balanced budget. That is a requirement. This year, a balanced budget looks like revenues in excess of expenditures. We do not have a fund balance that can support carrying additional expenses, costs, and so we will have to make fiscally responsible decisions to ensure that expenditures are lower than what the revenues are that are coming in. In addition to that, our board policy requires us to have a 5% reserve requirement, and we are working to restore that. We are currently, at the end of last year, at 3.5%, and we want to be at 5% so that we can ensure that we have any kind of resources available for emergencies. We are in the storm now, we have weathered it, and now we need to work on repaying it and making decisions that put us in line for success for the future. I mentioned a number of those things of budget work that's already ongoing. We've been working on the mitigation strategies in the current year. We're happy that our legislative impacts have been determined preliminarily. We're still waiting on OSPI to release some calculators and some information pieces. So there is still potential for that to change and modify as we learn more and as OSPI comes to clarity on what each of the legislative pieces actually means. We have high-level understanding. And then we have also been working on other program changes and trying to identify. We still, as a team, have about $6 million of adjustments that need to be identified. And we have a host of those things that we're working on currently, and we will be bringing those things forward to you in the next couple of board meetings. But we will continue to use your guiding principles as the standard for what we bring forward to you. A reminder that we have been working on bringing our administrative group down. If this is just a historical chart of where we've ended the year over a couple of years. Right now, our current administrative group is around 199.6 FTE. That number will continue to drop. We have some people who are part of the mitigating strategies of position eliminations who will be exiting the system this week, and then again in June, and then we'll have even further reductions as we reach August. So this number will continue to drop, and we'll bring it back to you in a future financial update. One note, though, our current administrative positions make up about 5.6% of our total positions. And that's been dropping. It was at 5.8 earlier this year. It was 5.7 the last time I presented this to you, and now it's at 5.6. We do have a number of community budget activities available. There's still an opportunity for people to provide feedback and engage in our budgeting process. Probably the easiest way for people to participate will be to work on the budget calculator. The link is provided. You can go to tacomaschools.org, go to the department's business and finance page, and under the budget tab, you can submit a budget calculator. You can add commentary and feedback within that budget calculator. You're not required to balance. We're just seeking feedback and information from people, and we will bring that and incorporate that into continued budget decisions. We will have some budget webinars available in the future, and then of course there'll be formal public hearings, which I'm going to outline on the next slide. We have been working on doing this budget for about 4 months. When we started with our 23-24 mitigations, we understood that these would have implications for the future. We have followed our typical budget practice and guidelines. We've followed our typical process, and we just started a little bit earlier than we would have in other years. So the benefit of that is that we can actually adopt in June. We believe that we'll be prepared to do that. We've been going through everything that we would typically have done in any other year in order to achieve that. And it's been a fascinating experience because we've really had to push ourselves as a team, and we've had to set new deadlines and hold everybody accountable to those deadlines. But in the end, I think that we will be in a better position to be able to ensure that people are prepared for the changes that are coming, make any kind of personal adjustments, make sure that we can get our contracts tidied up so that we're prepared for what happens when we start school in September. We will have a preliminary budget presentation to the board on the 23rd of May. Sometime in May, we will also have some videos that we launch, and then we'll have a budget hearing June 6th with adoption plan for June 20th. So, any questions that you might have for me?
Are there any questions or comments?
No, very thorough. Thanks for the update. I think it's been helpful to have sort of monthly connections on this, so it's not at all surprising.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item number 9, members of the public wishing to address the board. Public comment guidelines. School board members encourage public participation. Your civil input is appreciated. Board members will not respond to your comments during the meeting. The superintendent or a designee will follow up with you after the meeting if action is needed. Instead of speaking at a meeting, you may also send an email to the board at board@tacoma.k12.wa.us. And you can contact the board office in advance of the meeting for disability accommodations as well. Under Board Policy 1430, public comment, the board president may terminate an individual's comment when the allotted time has passed and may interrupt a speaker to require the same standard of civility that the board imposes on itself. Examples of uncivil comments include comments that are libelous or slanderous under a legal standard, are an unwarranted invasion of privacy, are obscene or indecent pursuant to the Federal Communications Act or any rule or regulation of the Federal Communications Commission, violate school district policy or procedure related to harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination, incite an unlawful act on school premises or violate a lawful school regulation, or create a material and substantial disruption of the orderly operation of the board meeting. The board as a whole has the final decision in determining the appropriateness of all such rulings and can maintain order by removing those who are disruptive. However, the board recognizes the distinction between uncivil discourse, which it will not tolerate, and comments about the board, district, and/or staff that are negative yet still civil in nature. The board will exercise its authority to maintain order in a content-neutral manner. There are two options. I'm going to start with option 2, written comments. Per the board email that I had read out before, individuals can submit board comment up to 24 hours before a business meeting. And then option 1 is verbal comment. General counsel will call your name when it is your turn to address the school board. Please speak into the microphone. You may have up to 3 minutes to share your comments, or if there is a large number of speakers, time may be limited at the president's discretion. Deputy Counsel Hillard, how many comments do we have?
We have 18 comments tonight.
Okay. Okay.
19.
Okay. And how many written comments do we have?
There are 4 that were presented.
Okay, thank you so much. In lieu of the number of comments that we have tonight, we will be limiting public comment to 2 minutes apiece. Deputy Counsel, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. The first public comment will come from Penny Kramer, followed by Jessica Castillo.
Do you have a timer? I'm like, if it's 2 minutes, I want to make sure we're... Thank you. I'm Penny Kramer, President of Tacoma Education Association. I have 2 concerns to bring to your attention tonight. 1, custodians, and 2, budgets. Our custodians need more staff. There simply are not enough people and hours to do the work. The floors remain unvacuumed for days. Soap and towel dispensers are not filled. Sanitation is not happening, and mice and rats are making their homes in our schools. Custodians are essential, and TPS needs to hire now. Our children deserve better. So thank you, custodians who are here. We see you. Thank you. Secondly, our schools need funding at the school level. Our district spends more on central administration as a percentage of the budget than larger school districts. Tacoma has 26,000 students, according to OSPI. All of this data is from OSPI. 6% of the budget is focused on administration. Spokane has 28,000 students. 4.7% is administration. Lake Washington has 30,000 students. 4.6% is administration. Even Seattle, with 49,000 students, only spends 5.8% of their budget on administration. I'll remind you, Tacoma is 6.9%. Sorry, 6.09%. So, we need to move our budget towards staffing at the schools, not in central administration. Put the money where the students are, and until that is done, we are not serving every student every day. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jessica Castillo, followed by Sarah Smith.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Castillo. I teach 3rd grade at Bernie Elementary. Having been an educator for 13 years, Brittany Proudman is by far one of the best leaders I have worked alongside. Brittany began at Bernie with a commitment to know every child's name and story. Her purpose was to ensure that every child was seen and received the support they needed to be successful within the school community and beyond. Over the last 3 years, Brittany took an active role in nearly every committee, most special education meetings, if not all. Additionally, she recognized the need to increase community partnerships to foster student success and family engagement. Thus, her continued collaboration with Metro Parks, SUNA, and mental health outreach. She has worked with staff on planning a multitude of family events and attended them as well. Her dedication to students, families, and staff go often often goes well beyond the school day. It is not unusual to observe Brittany in her office beyond 7 p.m., following up with families, staff, and community partners. I personally often receive emails that Brittany penned at 11 p.m. at night. The open door policy that Brittany has maintained has fostered staff collaboration and support. She welcomes feedback and is willing to have coaching conversations to enhance her ability to lead. She is often the trusted adult for students who have experienced trauma or require extra behavior supports. In my classroom, I have several students who rely on Brittany to work through issues through empathy and restorative justice conversations. During our stand-up staff meeting in February, Brittany announced her departure. At that time, she told staff she offered to take a pay cut and remain vice principal, knowing that her move from Bernie would be detrimental to students. The district's response was no. Witnessing on a daily basis.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Smith, followed by Cole Nagel.
Can you do 3 minutes because I need to do 2 languages at the same time? Is that okay? I have to sign and speak at the same time, and the languages are not the same, so it causes a lot of code issues. Can we do 3 minutes, please?
There's been a accommodated request.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely, yes.
Can you hear me? Do I have to go close to the wall? Okay. I can't hear myself, though. Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Sarah Smith. I'm just letting you know that on your time, I need to speak at the same time. So if I flop, I apologize. When Brittany became the vice principal of Bernie, she set 2 goals for herself, and she told all of us, so we were like, okay. Her first goal was to know every child by their name in their story. Second goal, to learn them and get sign language so she could talk to the students, the staff, and the community. In the 3 years at Bernie, she had achieved those goals. Here's the update. Goal 1, we have 522 students. She knows every kid. She knows their family. She knows their brothers and sisters. She knows where they're from. This happens every year, 3 years, so I can't do the math off the top of my head. She has set up a program with her family liaison to a staff member so those families could become part of Bernie. Goal 2, she had to pick up ASL and make it sign language at
Astronomical.
Thank you. Page. To the point where she can have conversations with us, the deaf community, with no interpreter. That is really unheard of in the deaf community with administrators. We've only had 2. One of them here tonight. Deaf people want to work at Bernie. They want to be able to talk to the boss without needing an interpreter, especially when we have confidential information. They want somebody who understands them, not the interpreter. That is a whole child champion, and that's something the community at Bernie does deserve. We need to be able to emulate her goals and her determination to reach them so we can all lead to come together. Thank you for your time. And that was done in 3 minutes.
The next speaker is Cole Nagel, followed by Calvin Washington.
Hello. So as you heard, I'm Cole Nagel. I'm a father of 2 students at Bernie. You're going to hear many other stories about Brittany, but I want to take a little different approach to let you know how the process has been for a parent. So we've known for about a month about this, and we've been trying to communicate with you guys, with the director, Scott Rich, and the president. So here's what I have to say. On March 22nd, 2024, several parents received phone calls from Ms. Nolan regarding the reassignment of Ms. Proudman, an esteemed member of our community. During the conversation, Ms. Nolan, deep concerns were expressed regarding the decision-making process and the lack of transparency surrounding Ms. Proudman's reassignment. Ms. Nolan's response were evasive, and her tone at times was dismissive and aggressive, particularly when emphasized about the significance of retaining Ms. Proudman at Burney Elementary. Furthermore, when questions about Ms. Proudman's performance evaluation or the criteria considered, Ms. Nolan provided vague assurances, leaving parents with the impression that she was not being entirely transparent to us. The message conveyed that by Ms. Nolan was that the decision had been made and parent input would not influence it. The sentiment was echoed by another concerned parent who received similar phone calls highlighting a troubling pattern of disregard for parental advocacy. We implore the school board to heed the concerns raised by families and the staff members regarding Ms. Proudman's removal, the unbiased accounts provided by families, and disapproval expressed by the staff members underscore Ms. Proudman's invaluable contributions to our school community. It is imperative that the board takes the voices into account when considering staffing decisions. The decision makers at the central office appear to have their personal decision on performance criteria that may not accurately reflect Ms. Proudman's value to the Burney Elementary and the Tacoma Public Schools. This raises a serious questions about the transparency and fairness of the decision-making process, warranting a thorough investigation into central administration staffings. In conclusion, I urge the school board to prioritize the best interests of our students and the community by thoroughly reviewing the circumstances surrounding Ms. Proudman's reassignment. Our students deserve leadership that is committed to success, and Ms. Proudman embodies that commitment.
Sir, thank you.
Next, we have Calvin Washington, followed by Marlo Kernan.
I'm here talking to you guys because my daughter is one of the latest victims of bullying that resulted in her being escorted in an ambulance to the hospital. I'm here because I feel and understand that principals need help. Sounds like their hands are tied, and this happened starting with one student that escalated to 5. For my daughter to be stomped on and kicked in the head repeatedly to where she was knocked unconscious and continued to receive blows to the head really crushes me. Now, this happened March 2nd at the Tacoma Dome, state basketball games. And these girls that did this to my daughter is still at school. To talk to a principal and have this brushed off, and now that I'm talking to you guys, makes no sense to me. And I want to know what can be done and what are the procedures, or how do we go about this? How do we stop this? I'm from Vegas, and now I'm here fighting for my daughter to make sure this does not happen ever again to anyone. I don't want any parent to feel this ever again. The difference is, I hear about this all the time, but it ends in death. I feel like the school and the school district has failed my daughter, but the grace of God has saved her. Now, we pay taxes for you guys to do your job and have checks coming from that, but we're not getting our fair end of the stick right now. Let's make school great again. That'll make America great again, starting with school and starting with these kids. If you're a humanitarian, it's time to step up.
Thank you. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Calvin Washington.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Marlo Kernan, followed by Kaylin Kerr.
Good evening, school board. My name is Marlo Kernan, and I'm a teacher at Burney Elementary, and I'm here as a professional to advocate for students, families, and staff at Burney. This month's equity question from the district is about power dynamics, and I feel this applies to this situation. Please let me say, I know I'm privileged, but I would like to leverage that privilege to be a positive agent of advocacy. The power dynamics in the decision to remove Brittany Proudman as the assistant principal position has left many, myself included, feeling powerless and unheard. When organizations are looking to make change, stakeholder buy-in is crucial in making change happen. In the process of administrative changes at Bernie, there has been no platform for input from crucial and critical stakeholders, the family, the staff, and students. When stakeholders tried to have a voice and share that Brittany Proudman belongs at Bernie because she is a whole child and whole educator champion, in both word and action, day in and day out, it went unheard. Even worse, some were discouraged from speaking out further. Students and families, many staff members, are advocating for voice and agency in their daily working lives, and more importantly, in their children's education and their own education. We are not opposed to change because in keeping Brittany Proudman, we are committing to continuing the growth and change that has happened since she has started at Bernie. And she is one of the main driving forces in rebuilding Bernie after COVID, and daily strives with the support from staff to make Bernie a place that is child first, where children are achievers today and leaders tomorrow, and that just isn't just rhetoric. It's action taken daily, monthly, and yearly with a foundation of connection and building connections and bonds that are so strong that we stand here today to say Brittany Proudman belongs at Bernie. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Kaylin Kerr, followed by Brooke Herdenstein.
Hello, my name is Kaylin, and I am here today as a concerned parent of a first grade student at Bernie Elementary School. There are two critical issues that demand our immediate attention. Firstly, let's discuss safety. With a student population exceeding 500, the new Bernie building simply can't accommodate everyone. Consequently, in October, as a temporary measure, the first grade students in the library were relocated to the round building, which is over 60 years old. Unfortunately, this decision has led to a cascade of serious problems. Just last month, during my daughter's Valentine's party, the water supply turned brown and has been deemed unsafe for use ever since. Our children now bring their own water bottles, and teachers have had to dip into their own pockets to provide water for students. The children can't wash their hands after using the restroom and have to rely on hand sanitizer to clean their hands. Moreover, the lack of adequate heating and persistent mechanical issues have disrupted the learning environment. To add to the concerns, the round building isn't even integrated into the emergency communication system, relying instead on unreliable walkie-talkies. The situation is unacceptable, and it is imperative that immediate action is taken to ensure the safety and well-being of our children at Bernie. Secondly, I am deeply disappointed by the recent decision to remove Mrs. Proudman from her role as assistant principal at Bernie. Mrs. Proudman has been an integral part of our school community, fostering family involvement through various events. Her efforts have created a positive and inclusive environment at Bernie, including initiatives like Kids Night Out and the Student Store, which rewards good attendance and positive behavior with toys, books, and an evening of fun with peers. Removing her diminishes the supportive atmosphere she's worked so hard to cultivate. I understand that budget constraints pose challenges, but neglecting the safety of our children and stripping away valuable resources like Mrs. Proudman is not the solution. We must prioritize allocating funds to address the structural issues, ensure water safety, and implement a reliable communication system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Brooke Herdenstein, followed by Morel Dion.
Hi, my name is Brooke Hertenstein. I am a teacher at Bernie. I also work with the DHH group, and I'm here to, speak up for Brittany Proudman. I don't want to repeat everything that's been said because that's redundant and a waste of my 2 minutes. What I would like to ask is, do you guys have heart? Because I feel that if parents, staff, and students who have shown up, how are we supposed to support somebody and feel heard and validated? And we're supposed to practice what we preach, whole child. It's all about the child. It's all about equity, equity, equity. Well, what the students need here at Bernie is Brittany. That's what equitable to those 522 students at our school is. And I know that my students alone love that Proudman can walk into my classroom with no interpreter and have full-on conversations without me voicing. I worked at a deaf school, and I've had administration at a deaf school, deaf themselves, who don't do half the work that Proudman does as a hearing person in the deaf world at a public school. To lose her, I'm shaking because I have a lot of words, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm coming across as human. She has made such an impact, and it is insane that she is being considered to move somewhere else. To throw in 2 new people who we probably can assume don't know sign, but staff that has trusted her, and she's here late. An email Jessica said at 11 p.m. I got one at 2 a.m. That woman does not stop. She grinds so hard because that's who she is. And those goals of knowing ASL, knowing everyone's name, have been achieved and then some. And I can't say the same for the other admin in our building, does not know one sign. So for the fact that she can come into my classroom, have a whole conversation with a child who has no residual hearing, that's impressive, and that itself deserves a round of applause. So thank you.
Next is Morel Dion, followed by Heidi Abrogast.
Hello, my name is Morel, and I'm a nurse at Edison Elementary. I've been a nurse for 20 plus years, and I've worked for the district for 8 years. I've been a nurse at Edison for the last 5 years. I love my job, the students, the staff, and the families at Edison. And this year is the first year that Edison has not had an assistant principal and a second counselor. Our school, like many others, has lost crucial staff, and we need, like many others, has lost crucial staff, and we are in need of we're in a constant state of crisis. Sadly, as we are seeing this decrease in staffing, we're also seeing an increase in dysregulated children whose unsafe behaviors continue to escalate. These incidences put all of our students and staff at risk. Ultimately, this lack of necessary support impedes on every student's ability to learn safely. So I ask the question today, what is it going to take to get the minimum resources we desperately need in all of our schools? A serious injury, police, lawyers, media, the loss of a life? Thank you for this opportunity to voice my concerns.
Next is Heidi Abrogast, followed by Jasmine Walton.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Arbogast, and I teach 3rd grade at Edison Elementary. I want to start first by thanking each of you for the work that you do in this difficult time. I'm here this evening to advocate for an assistant principal position at Edison and all schools slated to lose their APs. I'm a new staff member at Edison, having been displaced from Sherman Elementary in late September. My perspective is unique in that as little as 7 months ago, I was working in a school with vastly different resources and needs. Sherman is a PBL school with a robust PTSA with both financial and human resources to support student experiences, such as a makerspace and field trips to Point Defiance. The demographic at Sherman is mostly white with middle to upper middle incomes. In contrast, the Edison community is comprised of mostly students of color and low incomes. Edison students do not have access to the Sherman experiences nor to their resources. In my class alone, I have received 6 new students since December, and 2 of my students have parents who have been murdered. It's hard to explain the kind of need with this level of family trauma, but I can tell you an AP plays a critical role in addressing this adverse childhood experience. Without an AP, there is a rippling effect throughout a building. Every day, I meet with students to resolve conflicts that involved name-calling, fighting, crying, yelling, and eloping. My class is a microcosm of everything happening in the building. Our front office is inundated with student crisis. Our principal, counselor, office staff, and coach are putting out fires throughout the day. School safety is compromised without this essential position. My question is, where is the equity in this?
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Next is Jasmine Walton, followed by Raydell Simpson.
My name is Jasmine Walton. I have the privilege of serving as the school counselor at Edison Elementary. I want to bring awareness to the detrimental impact students and staff experience when assistant principal positions are eliminated. This is my 7th year as a school counselor, but the first that I have been unable to run small groups to support students' social, emotional, and mental health needs due to the elimination of our assistant principal position. The level of safety concerns due to an increase in student violence, mental health crises, substantial disruptions, elopement from classrooms and the building requires support from anyone that's available. My ability to provide school counseling services is significantly impeded when building administrator and other support positions are eliminated. I'm already serving 183 students more than the National School Counseling Model recommends. Losing an administrator only widens the gap for students to receive school counseling and intervention services. Buildings operate in reactionary crisis mode versus prevention intervention mode. We can't do more with less, and we certainly can't maintain what was because we have less. The number of violent incidents that occur in our building has increased, and the ability to respond to incidents is prolonged because it isn't possible to be 2 places at once. Student learning and safety is affected daily due to the level of need our building has and inadequate staffing. We can't fulfill the role of an eliminated administrator and other support positions while already having our own roles to fulfill. Serious staffing decisions have been made that impact our students, staff, families, and communities. Most importantly, though, our students. This is their education. These are their foundational years that have lifelong impact. The safety of students and staff is just as important as the opportunity we're given to provide a quality education. We need to staff buildings according to their current needs and need to include staff, families, students, and stakeholders in those discussions and decision making. Eliminating building administrators is not the answer. Thank you.
Next is Raydell Simpson, followed by Jackie Matthew.
Hello. My name is Raydell Simpson, and I don't have what they had. I'm from the ground level. I'm a parent, and I have 2 kids. I'm a single dad that I'm raised by myself, and this is my family. I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old. My 14-year-old went to Bernie first, and she had a different assistant principal, and he was great. But when we came back, we had a new one, and I was like, here we go. I'm gonna start off being judged. Here we go. And she didn't. She let me raise my son. She took me in the office and gave me the option of what I wanted to do with my son. As a father, that was number 1 to me. I got to tell my son that he's a young man and he needs to correct what he's doing. It turned out so great. He's been doing so good ever since. And then I hear you're gonna take that from the next students. We've been at this school for 7 years. When I first started, I was in Spanaway. Spanaway, it was disconnected. When we came over to Bernie, it was like I found what I needed to help me get through what I was going through. And they've been here every single step of the way. That's all I have to say. She deserves a chance.
Thank you. Next is Jackie Matthew, followed by Lillian or Emily Hassenletter.
My name is Jackie Matthew. I'm classified at Bernie, and I'm also a community member. My son wrote a poem for Bernie, or for Brittany. It's "O Captain, my Captain. We have seen it all, from a plague that tried to hinder a better tomorrow, to a world being set on fire. You have stood strong and unfazed. First one in, last one out. You are a pillar for this crew. Without it, our family will surely crumble. You've put your crew before yourself, like every good captain should. And that is hard to find nowadays. One for all and all for one. Oh, Captain, my Captain, You are one of 2 captains that have served Bernie in such valor. And I've served under many. And it's ludicrous and why they are taking you from us. You communicate with all your crew, but they are still taking you, our load-bearing pillar, all for one and one for all. Whilst the plague ravaged the world, you were able to keep us safe. You made sure that all our community was safe. All that's not, and with all that's not all. You communicated with all your crew. If there was a barrier that hindered it, you shattered it. You learned Spanish and sign language just to keep us all in the loop. Bernie's rock, Bernie's pillar. Oh, Captain, my captain, your passion burns bright. Whenever a crew member needs help, you're always first to arrive. You're always there to bring balance to us, emotional or physical. You never bat an eye. Sorry, I'm nervous. Thank you.
Next is Lillian and Emily Hassenletter, followed by Arthur Perkins Klein.
Hi, I'm Emily Hassenleiter, and this is my daughter Lillian. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to say, but I think most of what I could say has been said. And so I just ask that you really hear us and take into consideration what we are saying. Also take into consideration that we are taxpayers. I'll just leave that at that. Brittany is a pillar in our school, and I just saw a video the other day of a large ship crashing into a bridge, and the whole thing collapsed like that. I don't want to see that happen to our school. I don't want to see that happen to any school. You could just say something simple. Just say it's okay. What's your name?
My name is Lillian, and Ms. Proudman is one of the best teachers I know. She has helped school a lot. The kids love her. I don't know. That's it.
Save Brittany!
Yeah.
Next is Arthur Perkins Klein, followed by Megan Clark.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Haley Hathaway, or trying to save Haley Hathaway, the assistant principal of Hilltop Heritage Middle School's position. Some here might think of her position as a budget issue, whereas I see it as an issue of safety. Safety is the #1 issue that we've had at our school this year. For those who have been keeping track, our lockdowns have been in the double digits. In addition to this, that's external problems. Internally, we have a vast percentage of students with adverse childhood experiences. And as educators know, oftentimes this bubbles up into behavioral issues. Without Haley there and having our other administrators there, our school would be more unsafe than it already is. We have lost so many students this year because of safety. If you take away our assistant principal, we will lose more and more students, and our school will not be safe. It will not remain safe. Now, I don't know what else I can say about this. If you care about the children of this district, of Hilltop Heritage Middle School, the kids that have gone through hell and back, then let her keep her job. Thank you.
Next is Megan Clark, followed by Marquita Dixon.
Hello, Megan Clark, Family Liaison at Burney Elementary, and I just wanted to continue to advocate. Our families and our staff have done a wonderful job about telling you the great things that Brittany has done for our school, but I really want to, just like when we as adults make decisions, we encourage our kids to, when a decision is made and it's not necessarily the right decision, we encourage them to go back and reconsider and look at all the information and then go back and make a decision again. I'm asking for you guys to really look at the information that's been provided, because I don't think that she was advocated for very well internally. I think that the work that she has done wasn't presented, and I know that you guys, I don't think that you had all the information that really speaks to the work that she does. And I really encourage everyone to look at everything that she has done and reconsider. We just found out today that she'll be replaced by her mentee. So she has been the mentor to our incoming administrator. And for me, hearing that information is heartbreaking, because she has done such an amazing job, and then to have someone who sought her out as a mentor to be replacing her, it doesn't seem right. So I just encourage you guys to look at all the information and really look at what she has done and how much the family and the communities are advocating for her, and just really think upon that information, because if she's not at Burney, at least she should be in Tacoma, because she deserves that.
Thank you.
Next is Marquita Dixon, followed by Kat Vigil.
For the record, Marquita Dixon, and I'm here to speak about Brittany as well. So last week I got a phone call, like many parents, from Miss Lisa Nolan, and it kind of sounds like from parent to parent your conversation changed or the reasoning changed. At the end of our conversation, I asked Miss Nolan, how much are you short? Or how much do you need to fund her position? Because if we can raise the money or a check can be written today, what's the amount? To this day, I've not yet heard that amount, which I find highly rude and unprofessional. Which then makes me think, clearly you have money, because clearly we just heard you funded the position, right? Which, I just want to say this. Every week that goes by, we find out new information, or this wasn't disclosed to us, and that to me is a slap in Ms. Proudman's face. And when you're slapping her in the face, you're slapping her community in the face, because that's what I feel like. And then I wonder, God, she's not having an advocate, because Ronell Balabit, the principal there, and Scott Rich, her boss, should see how great she is. I mean, look at the room. Not only 2 meetings in a row do you have a packed house, we've had 2 news articles, we have a petition that has 257 signatures. And I just want to know, what else do you guys need to know that this woman needs to be at Burney? I've heard plenty of stories of her making change and impacting people's lives, from foster kids to the deaf and hard of hearing community. And then I wonder, what is TPS, right? What are you guys known for? And I found that you guys have some core values, which are students first, results matter, flexible continuous improvement, data-driven decisions, effective leadership, parent communication and partnership, cultural understanding, equity, accountability, and transparency. And if that doesn't describe Ms. Proudman to a T, I don't know what else you guys need to understand. And we will continue to fight, and I want every parent and staff person to know that our voice matters, and we won't stop.
Next is Kat Vigil, followed by Jessica Colbert.
Good evening. My name is Kat Vigil. I'm an education support professional at Burney Elementary School. As most of you are aware, due to the budget cuts in place, the assistant principal position at our school is being terminated. Or so I thought. I had an entire speech about how important this position is to our school and how it directly contradicts our whole child initiative. Color me shocked when I find out we're keeping our assistant principal position and replacing our current one, Brittany Proudman, with another assistant principal that just so happened to be her mentor or her mentee. The district has not been transparent nor honest about their decisions and has led us to believe that this was solely budgetary. I'm not going to stand up here and act like I'm not angry, that I don't feel like this is unjust and just purely wrong. So now I'm here to talk about why replacing Brittany Proudman is in direct contradiction to what Tacoma Public Schools has been aiming to represent here in our community. Tacoma Public Schools' whole child claim states, "Together, we want to help kids see that they belong, that they matter in every way. Taking care of our kids is about academics, but it's also about helping them learn to build meaningful relationships, resolve conflict, and gain the skills to manage emotions." So when I think of what whole child is supposed to look like and who makes the effort to build those relationships, I think of Brittany Proudman. Brittany knows every student's name, every family member. You've heard all of this already. I witness her connections with our students and am consistently in awe of her dedication and perseverance. Oh, sorry, lost my spot. Brittany is without a doubt the person they'll ask for if they are in crisis. Whole Child states we are fully committed to each of our kids, to them being safe, engaged, supported, healthy, and challenged. If Brittany's not racing the halls to help kids with behaviors, she's doing silly things like throwing snowballs. And, sorry, I need to be quick, singing Little Mermaid for the talent show. So I ask you, who is going to tell the whole child that politics are more important than their trust and safety? Thank you.
Our final comment tonight is from Jessica Culver.
My name is Jessica Culver. I'm here tonight to speak about my daughter, Lillian Culver, and the bullying and discrimination that she has been subjected to as part of the special education program at Skyline Elementary School. My daughter, Lily, is in first grade this year. She's at an IEP since March of last year. She's about to go into second grade and is testing into emerging kindergarten. She does not have any known cognitive learning disabilities, but has severe behavioral and neurodivergencies that require additional support for her to receive an education. This year, we've had 5 IEP meetings. She has been suspended 8 times that I have records for. I made my initial request for a para during a conference in October last year, but it was not until in January of this year when I finally learned the request had to be submitted to the principal, who at that time was Miss Regina Lake. That request was submitted to Miss Lake on February 6th. There have been 2 IEP meetings since the request was submitted, but no progress has been made with any additional support other than to wait for a behavioral intervention specialist to come to the school. My daughter Lily has been subjected to isolation, most common, if not complete removal from the school. I am frequently called from the school with voicemails left on my phone that the current interim principal does not have time to babysit my child and that I need to come to the school immediately and get her. When arriving to the school, I'm told she is not suspended, but I need to take her home. This is causing massive delays in getting her the help that she needs with her IEP. I'm sorry, I prepared a whole 3-minute thing and timed myself for this, and then I only have 2 minutes. And listening to everybody else here today, I just want to say we don't have a vice principal at our school. And this is what happens when you don't have support at the school. My daughter hates going to school. She's 6. I'm sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to adopt.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions about the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Item 11, policy matters. Item 11.1, first reading of revised policy 2410, high school graduation requirements and participation in formal graduation ceremonies.
Thank you. I believe Dr. Hostetter is here to answer any questions, provide any summaries. The General Counsel, on behalf of the Secondary Education Director of Schools, recommends the Board of Directors review the draft proposal of revised policy 2410 and provide feedback before a second reading.
Are there any questions or comments? No? All right. It's not an action item, so seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to item 11.2, first reading of new policy 2416, performance-based pathways for high school graduations.
The General Counsel, on behalf of Secondary Education Director of Schools, recommends the Board of Directors review the draft new policy 2416 and provide feedback before a second reading.
Are there any comments or questions about this? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 12, the financial report. Monthly financial statements can be found on the district website at www.tacomaschools.org/departments/business and finance. Item 13, curriculum instruction. 13.1, approval of the Associated Student Body Constitution for Tacoma Online.
The Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Support, on behalf of the Director of Athletics and Activities, recommends that the Board of Directors approve the proposed ASB Constitution of Tacoma Online.
I move this item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
I just want to say that I know that the students had a role in creating this, and I was just really impressed and really proud of our students pulling together and wanting to have a student body for it to come online that they could the students what's the word I'm looking for?
ASB?
Yeah, an ASB, thank you. An ASB for to come online, and I love what they've done, and a lot of school spirit, and I want to thank the adults that supported them in that process.
I know they went through many different drafts.
I bet.
They worked hard on it.
I would just echo the same and just talk about mention how impressive it is for an online school to create a culture, a community and culture has different unique challenges, and so it continues to be impressive of how the students and staff keep growing Tacoma Online. So. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. All right, item 14, business matters. 14.1, approval of amendment number 1, agreement between Riddle All-American, a sports equipment manufacturer and reconditioning company, and Tacoma Public Schools from September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2026.
The Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Support, on behalf of the Director of Athletics and Activities, recommends that the Board of Directors approve the proposed contract amendment for the period of September 1, 2023 to August 31, 2026.
I move to adopt.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. Item 14.2, approval of addendum number 7, annual purchase order agreement between Sonatrol, I think I said that correctly, Sonatrol Pacific, a sound security Inc. company, and Tacoma Public Schools from September 2023 through August 2024.
The Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Support, on behalf of the Safety and Security Director, recommends that the Board of Directors approve addendum number 7 between Sonatrol Pacific and Tacoma Public Schools for services provided for the 2020-2024 school year from September 1, 2023 to August 31st, 2024.
I move item 14.2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Tony, could you just, for the public, give a little context of what this is?
It's the continuation of our original security system that is slowly being taken over by Verkada.
Okay, excellent.
So Sonatrol is like a security system, as Tony mentioned, is that we've had our older buildings that were under the sound control contract. And then as Verkada, as this new system comes on, the old buildings we still have to maintain. So that's your alarm systems. They play a different role in there. And so the district is not fully on the same system in every building yet. And so as we continue to mention, as Assistant Superintendent Pace said, as we continue to expand the bond projects, we will move into a new system. So it's kind of a carryover bridge.
Thank you. I know we've been have had ongoing upgrades, so just for those that are listening, thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 14.3, approval of contract TSD 22196, amendment number 3 with EduPoint Educational System for purchase of Synergy Learning Management System.
The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning recommends that the Board of Directors approve contract TSD 22196, amendment number 3 with EduPoint Educational Systems in the amount of $356,588, exclusive of sale tax, for a total contract value of $2,353,603. Funding source, tech.
I move this item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All right, and thank you again, Zeke, for your ongoing presentations and information updates on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Yay.
Item 15, other business. Item 15.1, adoption of resolution number 2134, request for Tacoma School District number 10, 180-day waiver for grades K through 12.
The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning recommends that the Board of Directors approve the request for Tacoma School District number 10, 180-day waiver for 2024-25, 2025-26, and 2026-27.
I move item 15.1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Did you want to do a roll call vote?
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. President Keating, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Bonbright?
Aye.
Vice President Stroger?
Aye.
The resolution is passed.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the reminder on the resolution. All right, we do not have any of our student reps here tonight, I noticed. So item 16.
Where is she?
We saved some for you up front. Hi, Lily.
We put a couple up here for you.
That's all right. Hi. Lily.
Hi, I'm Lillian Taylor. I'm a student school board rep from Silas. I wanted to say that I know how important it is to have assistant principals and admin. I think it'd be detrimental if we lost them, so. I just wanted to talk about some of the choir things that happened in the past couple weeks. We had our auction for show choir and jazz choir, which basically raised money for us to go to Disney, which was really successful. We had our choir concert last week, which was obviously amazing. And then we had a recruitment concert, which we did with Sherman, Point Defiance, and Truman. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's all I have.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Of course.
Can I ask a question about the recruitment concert?
Yeah.
So how did that work?
So basically, we have like all these kids from these choirs, and we have them all come on. We all learn one song together. We perform at the beginning, and then I know that show choir has a boot camp where they have some younger kids come in and learn a dance. So they got to perform that at the end with show choir, which was a lot of fun.
That's fabulous. Thank you. I love stimulating the next generation to fill in the choir seats when you guys move on.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lillian. Are there any other, all right, board comments and reports?
You want to start?
I ain't got nothing to report. Obviously, we have Friday coming up tomorrow, last day of the week, and then we jump into spring break. So I don't have any school-related reports, but I do just want to encourage folks to be safe as we're out for these next few days. Things have been interesting in the city, so I just want to encourage folks to keep their heads on the swivel. Don't go places you don't got to go, and really hold your family close and tight during the spring break. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Okay, I'm going to let you talk about the tribal listening session. And so I had a visit. I visited Point Defiance Elementary this week, and it's just a fabulous experience to go out to the schools. And I just want to thank Principal Hecox and for her support, and all of the teachers I met. Almost every teacher. We went to the rooms. But the best part was I got 2 5th graders, Wyatt and Mackenzie, who were extraordinary. They had both been there since kindergarten, and they knew the history. They knew the teachers all by name. And when the teachers would come, we'd see them. That one teacher had them when they were that age, and there was just such a rapport and such a bond, and it was wonderful to see. And I just want to thank everyone that made that experience for me a good one, including the 5th grade teacher, Mr. Pitoff, who let the kids out to shepherd me around the school. And that was great. Anyway, and I also, I just want to thank everyone in the room today for coming, for all the people, because everybody had different issues to talk about and share, and I think that's really important for us to be able to hear. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives to come and share your perspectives across the board. We had a lot of comments across the board today, and I want to thank everyone for coming.
Thank you for acknowledging us.
Yeah, it's meaningful that you're here.
Thank you, Director Von Bright. I will start by talking about the listening session that we had last Thursday evening at the Indian Education, with Indian Education, and it was a really remarkable experience. The Parent Council had worked with our Director of Indian Education, David Seith, on creating the event and inviting families, and so we just had we got to have a meal together. That one of the families that participated in the listening session made traditional Native food for us, and it was really just a really special and remarkable conversation, and we were very, very grateful to learn more about their Native communities within and families within TPS. I think, if I remember, and maybe one of you will remember, but I think that we had, 153 different tribes represented in all of the students within Tacoma Public Schools, which is just a remarkable number. So I don't know if either of you had any takeaways or thoughts you might want to share about the listening session.
I guess I would share that there were, I think, 10 families there, and some of them had their students with them. And it was really, I think, exceptionally important to hear both from the families, from their perspective about how Indian education in Tacoma Public Schools works and how it supports their families and how appreciative they are, but also from the students, just the agency that they feel because their community is so supportive of them. And I was impressed with all of the things they had to say. They had great suggestions on how we as a board could get more engaged and involved, so I thought it was a really helpful, and it's one of our board goals. I think what you said is that we were sort of trying to reach out to different parts of the community, and it was a powerful night.
Yeah, I mean, I always appreciate student voice, and though there were not a lot of students there, the ones that were there didn't speak a lot, but when they did speak, they always mentioned the impact of the community. And I really take my hat off to David and the team there, because what they have created is something consistent, something that members of the community look forward to, as far as at least the programming, the graduation, the community coming in, and the guy who's been painting the drums for 18 years or something, maybe more. Yeah, it's just great. So what I can tell is that the students are definitely impacted in a positive way by this program, and it's an honor to sit with the families. It's an honor to sit with the leaders of the program and really hear and understand the work that goes into it. I think it was a great night.
So just for the families that are listening, what Vice President Stroger was referring to is there's a gentleman who for the past, I don't know how many, 16 years has been hand painting tribal, drums for every graduate, every Tacoma Public School graduate that's, a tribal member. And he has talked to kids for all these years, and they still have them. They still find them, very grounding and very important part of their heritage and their experience with Tacoma Public Schools. So, and so he spoke. He was there, and he shared some of his experiences with the evolution of Tacoma Public Schools since he's been here, and the whole thing was fascinating.
I'll apologize because I'll probably mispronounce his name, but is it Mr. George Zamara?
Yeah. Mara, that's it. George Mara, yeah. Really fabulous guy.
And George also attended TPS, and there was no Indian education when he was growing up, and and his daughter got to experience this federal program through Tacoma Public Schools, and so it's I think what I appreciate is the welcoming of learning about culture that I'm not a part of, and so for me it was a really meaningful, I know for all of us, and Director McElroy, who was also there, it was a really meaningful evening. Superintendent, did you have anything you might want to add?
I would just echo everything you said. I think we also got a real treat. One of our family guests presented us with a traditional meal. Yeah. That was absolutely amazing. And so I'm extremely grateful for that time and opportunity. And so I really echo your efforts over the course of the last few years. You've been really working on going out into the field and healing. We're a diverse community, and so 155 independent nations, and then we have our other global nations across the world represented, and so our diversity is really our quilt of a variety of different perspectives, traditions, and so that's it was just a moment to really take time to learn and be a guest, and so I was extremely grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent, since you got to attend, did you have anything you wanted to add about your experience?
I echo what I have heard, and it's a humbling experience to be in a space with individuals who shared their true culture. And David Scythe, under his leadership, created a safe space where adults and students seem to speak freely and from the heart, and I'm filled with gratitude for that experience.
Thank you. Last night, I don't have a whole lot more, but last night I did spend some time at Giadrone Middle School. They had, for the first time, integrated their 5th grade they didn't call it a jump start, but basically it's their incoming 6th graders. They got to come and tour the school and spend some time. There was a scavenger hunt, and it was also a way to introduce the students to the IB program, and so the scavenger hunt was all related to IB, so it was informative, and most importantly, there were snacks at the end. And so that was, I just spent I don't know, an hour and a half just with families and students and staff, and getting to know the families that were coming in from neighboring schools. And at the same time, they had the 8th grade social studies presentations that had happened during the day, where each 6th graders got to come and judge their favorite presentation. It was all around humanities, essentially. And so students picked particular issues in the community that were important to them. And so during that day, 6th graders came through and picked their favorites. The 7th graders came through and gave their grade, or picked their favorites or gave their feedback, and then families could come back that evening for the 8th grade, or for the 8th grade's presentations. And so there was a lot happening, and it was just, I thought, a really unique way to welcome new families into the school with existing families. There were students, I met a couple different students that were recruiting for the talent show. They did try to recruit me, but I was like, that's the same night as Lincoln graduation and I can't be here. But It was just a really, it was great to watch the students really take the lead of welcoming these fifth graders into their community. And then tomorrow I will be going to the Lincoln Multicultural Assembly, and then right after that, after school, they have their Abe Fest, and then of course spring break begins. And I just also want to mention that on March 31st is actually Trans Day of Visibility, which is a really important day for many of our students and families, and actually staff. And so I just wanted to mention the importance of that day for many of us in the community. And besides that, I don't think I have anything else. Do either of you have anything else, Superintendent? All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to item number 17, announcements of next regular board meetings. On April 11th, there will be a 6 p.m. business meeting. April 18th, another 6 p.m. study session. And April 25th at 6 p.m., we will have another business meeting. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.